Hi, my name is Gabriel Alejandro Aguilar Cruz, and today I'm going to talk about the New World Order. First, let's list some of the most important events of the last decades. Let's begin with the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989. After more than 30 years, the wall that separates Germany fell and Germany reunified. Let's remember that during the 1946 until 1990, there was the Cold War, and so one of the most significant monuments was the Berlin Wall that separated Germany into the capitalist side and the socialist side. After the social revolution, the Germans decided to demolish this wall, and so in 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. Later, in 1990, Germany reunified, and so we go to we go to the dissolution of the USSR. After losing control of the situation and the economic crisis, Gorbachev put an end to the USSR. During those years, during the end of the 80s, beginning of the 90s, of the new decade of the 90s, um, the Soviet Union have a lot of first have a terrible economic crisis, and then have a lot of internal conflict with other the nations that conform the Soviet Union. And so many decided to become independent and taking a different path that the Soviet Union had. So they start to lose control, and a great example was Germany, like we talked about. So in 1990, Gorbachev, the last president of the Soviet Union, put an end to the Soviet Union and so to the socialist bloc. Persian Gulf War. This war lasted some months between January and February of the year of 1991. Um, this war against the Iraqi Republic was a response of the Iraqi invasion and the annexation of the state of Kuwait. This was led by the USA and was authorized by the United Nations. When Iraqi decided to invade and so annex the state of Kuwait to their territory, many nations decide to act, and so the war ended in February of the 1991. In the new century, then we have the NAFTA. The NAFTA was an agreement with the United States, Canada, and Mexico that relax duties and restrictions on import and export of products. That means that a product that goes from Mexico to United States or Canada doesn't have to pay an excessive amount of taxes, just a little bit, and making it easier and cheaper to have products of other nations, of these two nations. Then, now in the new century, in the 2000s, a terrorist attack on September 9 of 2001 left more than 30,000 people dead after two hijacked airliners crashed into the Twin Towers. A terrorist group named Al Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden, decided to capture or hijack two planes and then crash it into the Twin Towers to affect the economy or the social model in the United States. Then in 2008, the world lived a economic crisis. The international financial crisis was largely the result of the United States subprime derivatives crisis, which had a negative impact on the global economy. By this time, we are living in a unipolar world that the United States controlled, because after the end of the Cold War, there was only the capitalist side that was controlled by the United States. So the United States take control over most of the nations. So now we're living in a unipolar world. And now, if the United States were having an economic crisis, many other countries that were dependent of the United States felt that crisis also. 2 years later, we have the WikiLeaks. The leak of United States diplomatic documents are the name by which is known to the work done by the website WikiLeaks. Considered as a massive leak, many important documents of the United States were leaked by this group in 2010, and that means that they will have a cyber attack that will damage their established country. Now, to the next year, in 2011, we have the death of Osama bin Laden. Elite units of the United States formed armed forces shut down Osama bin Laden during a firefight in Abbottabad, Pakistan. As I said before, Osama bin Laden was the head of the Al-Qaeda terrorist group that occasioned the 9/11. After the attack, in 2001 and 2003, they started a war against Pakistan and Iraq. So, in order to attack and kill the leader of this group, Al Qaeda. So they committed the murder of the leader of Al Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, in 2011. Now I'm going to explain some of the terms that I have been referring to with all these events that happened in the last decades. First, we have the globalization. This can be described as the phenomenon based on the continuous increase in the interconnection between the different nations of the world at economic, political, social, and technological levels. Second, terrorism. Series of criminal acts that create terror among certain groups of the population in order to obtain certain political changes. In this case, or in many cases, the terrorists are led by they are with a great or an extreme religious extreme religious fanatics that are going to make everything that is in their disposition, even kill, in order to obtain power for their religion. Then we have the unipolar world, term that used when the nation have their lead role in the political, economic, scientific, and social matters, and its politics influence the majority of the world. Like I said before, in this case, it's the United States. Then we have the digital era. This period covers the beginning, apogee, and culmination of the digital and computer revolution at the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century. Right now, the technological advances are humongous. They are amazing. We have a lot of new technologies and new technologies and advancements that are going to help us in the future and are helping us now. For example, the internet, the computers, and many other devices that make our life easier and sometimes even cheaper. Now we have some questions to reflect of all the things we said. First, why did globalization emerge? It emerged thanks to the new technologies, treaties, and means of communication that made it easier to connect the whole world, thus facilitating the economy, politics, and growth in general. In most cases, what caused the terrorist attacks of the 20th century? The terrorist attacks mostly are caused for the extreme religious actions of the fanatics and seek the power and the authoritarianism of the religion of their territories. Also, they attack everyone that are against them, declaring wars even in nations. Next question is, how does the end of the Cold War relate with the unipolar world? When With the end of the Soviet Union, the socialist regime ended to giving the opportunity for the United States and capitalists to take control of great part of the world, like I said before. And finally, how was the digital era influenced today's society? Today, thanks to the digital revolution, connectivity, and many services are easier and more accessible. For example, now with the new devices like the smartphones and the internet, it's a lot easier to make contact with other persons that are very 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 far, and also to have many services when even if we're in our house thanks to the internet connection. So that have influenced a lot of today's society. And this is the end of the presentation. Thank you a lot for watching this video, and I hope that you like it. Thank you. See you.